Some billionaires buy yachts, private islands, or luxury jets. But then there are the ones who take it to a whole new level, the kind of purchases that make you question if having too much money actually melts your brain a little. Today, we're diving into the weirdest, strangest, and most unbelievable things billionaires have actually spent their fortunes on. And trust me, by the end of this, you're going to wonder if being rich just means living in your own strange little world. Let's start with Bill Gates, a man worth over $100 billion, but still a kid at heart. Instead of just buying a nice garden or a fancy home theater, Gates spent $50,000 to turn an entire room of his mansion into a trampoline park. Picture it, one of the most serious tech moguls in the world bouncing around like an overgrown toddler. 50 grand is pocket change to him, but this is just the warm-up. Because when billionaires get weird, they go really weird. Take the time someone paid $120,000 for a banana, not a gold-plated banana, not a genetically modified super banana, just a regular fruit duct-taped to a wall, passed off as art. The kicker? After it sold, another guy walked up, ripped it off the wall, and ate it. Congratulations, you just ate a six-figure snack. Speaking of spending absurd money for questionable reasons, one billionaire loved his dog so much that when it died, he decided to bring it back. Twice. He cloned the same dog 2 more times for a cool $200,000. I get loving your pet, but this is starting to sound like a Disney villain origin story. And then there's Hamish Harding, a man who lived like he had a real-life bucket list challenge with no time limit. He's flown around the world in under 46 hours, explored the South Pole with his son, and even went to space. But his obsession with adventure led to one fatal decision: paying $250,000 to visit the Titanic wreck in OceanGate's infamous submersible. Built out of carbon fiber and piloted with a video game controller, this sub wasn't exactly NASA approved. We all know how that ended. It imploded, taking Harding and 4 others with it. Yet even with that tragedy, the billionaire submarine obsession doesn't end there. Richard Branson decided to build his own, an underwater plane costing $662,000, designed by his airline engineers. He planned a record-breaking dive to the Mariana Trench, only to have James Cameron beat him to it before he could even try. That's one very expensive missed opportunity. But then we get to Saudi Prince Al Walid, whose purchases aren't just strange, they're straight-up medieval. He reportedly hires little people as jesters and even holds contests to see who can throw them the farthest, paying a total of $1 million a year for his human entertainment. Once he couldn't decide between buying an Airbus or a Boeing private jet, so he had each jester say the name of a jet, and whichever sounded funnier, he bought. Spoiler, he went with the Airbus. Another time, he threw a stack of $100 bills into a fire just to watch his jesters try to rescue them. If there's a handbook on how not to spend money, this guy needs it. Then there's Elon Musk. Of course, the billionaire who's building rockets and electric cars decided to buy something straight out of a James Bond movie, a real Lotus Esprit car that turns into a submarine. Price tag, $1 million. And yes, it actually works underwater. But the next billionaire went in a different direction, buying a piece of paper for $2.3 million. Not just any paper, one of the only known photographs of legendary outlaw Billy the Kid. Apparently, criminal memorabilia is worth more than a mansion. Some billionaires spend millions to change their looks, like Jocelyn Wildenstein, who received $2.5 billion in a divorce and decided to spend $4 million of it transforming herself into a Catwoman through plastic surgery. The result? She's now unrecognizable and completely broke. Others buy objects for their creep factor. One billionaire paid $4.8 million for the dress Marilyn Monroe wore to sing Happy Birthday to JFK because she famously wore it without underwear. I don't think this man bought it for historical value. Some billionaires blow their cash on experiences they never even use, like Ken Griffin, who paid $8 million for a ticket to space and then backed out. Considering OceanGate, maybe he had the right idea, but wastefulness can get even more ridiculous, like carving your name into your own private island for $22 million, only for the ocean to wash it away. Bill Gates might laugh at that, but then again, he once spent $30 million on a single notebook. Granted, it was written by Leonardo da Vinci, but still, it's just paper. Then there's billionaire Jared Isaacman, who dropped $55 million to brew beer in space. It sounds absurd, but he used it to raise over $200 million for children's cancer research, proving not all weird purchases are bad. Of course, some are beyond questionable, like Stefan Dekhoff buying Jeffrey Epstein's notorious islands for $60 million and planning to turn them into hotels. That's a marketing challenge if I've ever heard one. And then there's Cecil Chow, who offered $65 million to any man who could convince his lesbian daughter to marry him. After years of failure, he doubled it to $120 million. No takers. In the art world, a billionaire once paid $170 million for a century-old nude painting, overpaying by $70 million just to hang it on his wall. And if you think that's extravagant, wait until you hear about the billionaire who bought an entire cursed pyramid. The Memphis Pyramid was plagued by floods, deaths, and even exploding toilets during its construction. Abandoned and feared, it sat for years until billionaire Johnny Morris decided to buy it for $215 million. Only after catching a giant catfish as a sign. He turned it into a massive Bass Pro Shop, and locals say the curse might finally be broken. But perhaps the most ambitious oddity is the Titanic II, a $567 million full-scale replica of the original Titanic, set to sail the exact same route where the first one sank. Let's just hope history doesn't repeat itself. And then there's Michael Bloomberg, who managed to waste money on a whole different level, spending over $1 billion on a 3-month presidential campaign that went nowhere. He spent more on ads than every other candidate combined, and most Americans didn't even realize he was running. From bananas to cursed pyramids, from cloned dogs to underwater cars, the one thing all these purchases have in common is simple. When you have billions, the line between genius and absurdity gets very, very blurry.